whose recent signing train-wrecked 2 top 15 tight end seasons in the FFPC, what rookie running back may be losing his shine before the NFL draft, and just how did the tight ends finish in 2018 or 2017. Plus, FFPC Double Dynasty winner Doug Weidner joins us for some chat on why he believes zero RB is a losing strategy, what he's giving up for Stephon Diggs in Dynasty right now, and more. We've got a, hopefully, great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
What more can I say? We top billing it. Valiant without billing it. Viciously found victory. Burn towns and villages. Burning, looting, and pillaging.
Murderers try to hurt us. We curse them and all their children. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free. I am barely giving up away.
So tell begging Johnny and Mommy to get the away. Yo, here's a gun, son. Now run. Get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Bulkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour here on a special Thursday night presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, Dave the Dizzle Gerzak. Well, coming up on tonight's show, what is the fantasy fallout from the Giants' big trade today with the Buccaneers? What does Frank Gore's signing mean for Kenyon Drake? And much more, plus a 2-league winner in the FFPC Dynasty leagues last year. 2 leagues he won, Doug Weidner. He's going to actually drop in on the show in just a bit to discuss when Carson Wentz will be ready in 2018, who his number one receiver is in rookie drafts right now, and a ton more. Shout out to the chat room right now. If you have any questions, post them in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, I'm at Eric Balkman. The show is at HSFFhour. Dave is at David Gerzak. You can post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFFhour. If you want to give us a call tonight, please do, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you do have any questions tonight for us or for Doug, now is the time to send them. Our audio engineer, Bryce, producer, and mutual friend, Rob, will get those questions to us in the second half of the show in the fantasy feedback segment. I want to bring up a couple of things before we get to Doug Weidner tonight. Dave, we announced a special, I believe, an unprecedented early bird promotion for the FFPC this year from the Football Guys Players Championship. Register your team before June 30th, draft it before July 15th, and the FFPC gives you a free $35 league credit.
Yes, sir.
Can be used as a classic, best ball, super flex, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
It is a very good deal, and it's such a good deal that we'll give it to you again if you do it for 2 teams. But surely we wouldn't do it if you bought 3 teams. We just can't do that. There's no way.
Okay, go ahead.
What, are you telling me we're going to do it for 3 teams too? This is insane.
Oh, my goodness.
Operators are standing by the phones right now.
Don't call. We're not answering.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Actually, you don't have to call. Just go on the website, myffpdc.com, and register there. And you'll get up to, if you buy a 3-pack, you'll get 3 $35 league credits too. So this is great too, because you can actually do, it's more chances to win, more prep for another Football Guys team, another main event, whatever you want to do. It's a great deal, so check that out, myffpc.com. Best ball drafts, classic, super flexes, starting at $35 are drafting now. Check that out at myffpc.com. Plenty of Dynasty startups as well. I feel like, Dave, there's a Dynasty startup that's got probably 5 or 6 spots left in it that is drafting this Saturday. So if you want to jump in now into that draft, you can start drafting this Saturday and build your Dynasty today at myffpc.com. So let's get into tonight's guest here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to bring him in right now. He is a lifetime Philadelphia Eagles fan. Congrats to him. And his fantasy biases include Eagles players, no Sean Moreno, I was with you on that one, and Percy Harvin. Dave, weren't you a Percy Harvin fan back in the day too?
Not really.
No? Okay. I thought you were. Maybe I was.
We'll have to go back and check the tape.
Check the tape, exactly. He says he will happily draft all the running backs you're ignoring with your zero RB theories. He co-manages teams with his father, Paul, his brother, Dan, and his friend, Ryan, through the FFPC, and is blessed in his personal life with 2 beautiful daughters and a wife who is so supportive of the countless hours he spends on fantasy, he called out his hobby during their wedding vows. Aw. We are calling on him tonight to dispense some knowledge tonight, fresh off his victories at both the 750 and 500 Dynasty levels in the FFPC. Please welcome into the show Mr. Doug Weidner. Doug, thanks for doing the show tonight, man. Really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Has the party finally stopped in the Philadelphia area
with the vandalism?
With the Eagles, clearly the vandalism hasn't stopped. But with the Eagles celebrating this Super Bowl win, I mean, are you still partying it up?
I wish, for sure. But yeah, it was pretty terrific. You know, the whole city was pumped, and you know, definitely got a little out of hand. But that's perfectly fine for the weight we had to put up with.
I think I would have been a little annoyed or I thought something was wrong if it did not get out of hand in Philadelphia after a Super Bowl win. I fully expected it. Doug, tell the listeners what you do for a living when you are not crushing FFPC high stakes dynasty leagues.
Sure. So I work in finance. I work out of New York City. I'm based in New Jersey, but as you can probably guess, I'm originally from the Philadelphia area.
Any highfalutin finance questions tonight, Dave?
What happened to the stock market today, Doug? We're going forward here, buddy.
I have no insight into that stuff, unfortunately. So no great tips there.
I think it's the tariffs.
I think it's probably.
Where's the interest rates today? All right, let's talk fantasy.
Yeah, let's do that.
Boring myself even here.
Our show just dropped 700 points.
All right, so you won the 750 number 7 Dynasty League last year, which, by the way, we have a new owner in that league as of tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anybody I know or no?
Todd Walker.
Todd Walker.
CA something.
Okay.
Taking over Daniel Weiss's team. Anyway.
Dan Weiss, I know. Yeah.
Anyway, so what can you tell us about one of your star receivers on the squad, Jarvis Landry? Jarvis Landry, do you see his dynasty value changing with his move to Cleveland from Miami?
Sure. I mean, I guess I can see pulling back. I mean, obviously Cleveland's a little bit of a sore spot in terms of fantasy football and real football over the last few decades. But for me personally, looking at Tyrod Taylor, he's never really been someone to chuck it down the field. I think he's never had a season where he's averaged more than 8 yards per pass. So I think that fits pretty well with what Landry offers in the short passing game. So beyond that, I mean, Cleveland will almost certainly draft a quarterback, and for that, Landry offers a lot of his value as sort of a security blanket in a sense. So I could even see, once a rookie quarterback kind of fills in there, that value continuing to exist for the passing game.
Doug, given what you just said about Tyrod Taylor not throwing the ball downfield, what if you own Josh Gordon in a dynasty league right now? Are you shopping him around and maybe taking less than 100 cents on the dollar because you think he might take a step back, with maybe David Njoku taking a step forward in his second year, with Jarvis Landry commanding a fairly significant target share? What would you be doing with Josh Gordon right now in that offense?
Yeah, that's a tough one because, as I mentioned, I mean, in the short term, it may be kind of a drawback on his game and, certainly Corey Coleman in terms of, getting down the field and getting some of those longer passes. But, I fully believe that Cleveland has to draft a quarterback at, either 1 or 4, and it's looking most likely at 1. So, if they make the right choice and they bring in someone who's, going to add a lot of value in the sense of the quarterback position, they may be worth a hold. So I don't know if I'd really sell anyone at a discount at the moment, for sure.
Keeping the conversation on the receivers on this team that you have in addition to Landry, you also have Tyreek Hill here as well, who obviously had a massive end of the 2016 season, parlayed that into a very solid, elite 2017 season. So now the Chiefs go out and they start paying Sammy Watkins $16 million a year on a team that already had Kareem Hunt, that already had Travis Kelce. What does the signing of Watkins mean for Tyreek Hill? Is his value higher because Watkins is going to take some pressure off him? Is it lower because Watkins is going to take some targets from him? Or is it roughly the same because Tyreek Hill is, simply a fantastic receiver, and no matter who's opposite of him, he's going to be able to put up big numbers?
Yeah, I think you're touching on some good points there. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is obviously the winner here. There should be a great offense with Hill, Kelce, Hunt, and now Watkins. Obviously, when you have so many stud players and on one team, it's a valid concern to think about all those mouths to feed and what that means for fantasy production. That being said, I don't see it drastically altering any of these guys' value, inclusive of Hill, in a very negative way. The contract they gave Watkins certainly makes you think twice. That's obviously, a pretty large amount, but I think they'll do pretty fine in terms of spreading the ball around and spreading across the field, and Andy Reid usually does a pretty good job with that. I could see Watkins putting up similar production to what he did last year, and, certainly, opening up the field a bit for the other guys in terms of spreading that field out. So I wouldn't really, knock any of those guys down a step. Certainly Watkins is going to produce a little bit more than the number 2 from last year, so there might be a bit of attrition, but nothing that's really concerning me that much.
And, Dave, this is all good news. Kelce, Hill, Watkins, Hunt, it's all good news for Patrick Mahomes in his first year as a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's going to move up draft boards. You can still get him really late right now. If you're drafting in the FFPC best ball, Mahomes is your number 2 quarterback. You got to love that, right?
I do love that, actually. Where is he being drafted? Do you have a...
I do. I can tell you right now that Patrick Mahomes, I don't know, I couldn't tell you what number quarterback he's going off the board right now, but sure. I can tell you he's going at the 10:08, so you can get him in the double-digit rounds right now. He's going after guys like Prescott, Rivers, Mariota, and Winston, and Goff.
With the weapons he has, he's a lot more unproven than Prescott, but Prescott kind of struggled last year, even though he still, we were just joking about how last week, what was his, he was still QB, 6 or 7?
10. Prescott? Yeah. 10 the last 2 years.
I think Mahomes has some real upside.
Some guy, by the way, did take Patrick. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Chris Carson went at the 409. Patrick Mahomes' earliest was 712. Chris Carson at the 409. My goodness.
Wow.
Somebody loves them some Seahawks. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. So, Doug, let's talk about Derek Cohen instead, actually. I wonder where the highest spot of him getting drafted is. So he was on your 500 number 17 team as well as the other team that won. So that 500 number 17, you won that league as well. Do you use him much on those 2 teams, and do you think he'll be any good on the the newly revamped Chicago offense in 2018?
Yeah, so I didn't use him much on my 750 team. I actually just picked him up on the 500 team a little bit before this season, and I have him on another one of my 500 teams. But I'm certainly a big fan, and I have big expectations for him moving forward. I think what he offers is a little more dynamic than really what John Fox could handle in terms of that offense that he ran. And I felt like he was a bit criminally underused and misused. I assume Nagy will look to open that offense up a bit, similar to what they're doing in KC, which I think bodes well for Cohen's skill set. I'm liking Cohen in Dynasty and best ball formats this year, for sure.
Cohen is a guy that I think really represents what the NFL has, not even what it's shifting to, what it's already shifted towards over the last few years. And I think players like him are the players that smart offensive coordinators are able to exploit their talents, exploit their skill set. And I'm fully with you. I think Cohen is going to have a good 2018. Dave, in that Kentucky draft, that's who I drafted as my second running back was Tariq Cohen. And, obviously I was going to wait on. Yeah, I was going to wait on my second running back. I ended up with
obviously
Cohen.
Did.
Yeah, and I did.
Really wants to wait.
Hey, it's not like a best ball. I mean, I will have the chance to pick up guys throughout the season. But, I'm excited for Cohen this year. We are excited tonight because Doug Weidner is our guest here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak talking to the man who won 2 FFPC High Stakes Dynasty Leagues last year. And let's talk about zero RB. We know you don't like it, Doug, and I'm curious, did you apply that strategy to Dynasty, and is that how you ended up with Alvin Kamara, a guy who was not going in the top half of the first round in FFPC Dynasty, sometimes not even until the early second. But is this how you got Kamara on both these teams, was just other guys wanting to build their teams around receivers rather than running backs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that plays a part of it, right? And I think I also tend to focus on some of these RBs that also add value through their receiving skills. So actually, I picked up Kamara on 3 of my teams. And just, again, it was a matter of, Kamara being this individual who came out with a strong pedigree back to high school, the size to handle a decent workload, and obviously, plus receiving skills. So the combination of those aspects led me to believe that, that would be an attractive price for him coming through the second half of the first round. And it certainly paid off. But in terms of, looking to the RB position, and specifically RBs who are receivers, for me, it's a bit of a matter of scarcity. Looking for those opportunities and looking to grab those running backs is definitely something I focus on.
Interesting, Balky. What do you think?
Well, I'm curious. I'll follow that up. Something that I thought of, because we always talk about wanting to sell high on players in dynasty leagues, and I think obviously you could definitely make the case that you should, or that you could sell high on Kamara right now and get a king's ransom for him. But I don't know, and Doug, maybe you're not even bothering to shop him around to see what you could get. But for Kamara, what's the starting point in trade talks if you were to move Kamara right now? Because he might not be as efficient as he was last year. He might take a step back in his dynasty value. What would you be looking at to try to move Kamara right now? Where does it start? Is it an elite running back and a future first? Where does it go with his value?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going in the right direction. I mean, it'll definitely be multiple firsts and have to involve early firsts at that, or certainly a top 25 player, top 24 player or whatever. I certainly am very high on Kamara.
Okay. Can we do a quick would you rather?
Yeah.
We'll give you 3 different options.
Yeah.
Kamara or the 101?
This year's 101.
Yes, Barkley.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one because, obviously Barkley has shown that he's something pretty special. So that really is a tough one. But, Kamara's already proved that at the NFL level. I guess I might even lean. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I'd be hard pressed. I might take Barkley. I'm just very high on him, but that sounds kind of silly to say. And I think any other year I probably wouldn't do the same because there's a lot of uncertainty with rookie picks. Whereas if you have someone who's already producing, that's typically where I'd stay.
That's pretty close to what do you think, Boss?
I think. Well, I'll say this right now. This is my cop-out answer. I would rather have.
Give me a real answer.
No. Here's what I would do. I would flip Kamara for the 101. I would rather have the 101, and then you know what I would do? Open season on the bidding for the 101, right. And then I'd turn around and flip the 101.
All right, I'll take Barkley in that situation.
Yeah.
So then, what about Kareem Hunt, a player who's actually kind of similarly valued, but he doesn't have to worry about Mark Ingram on his team at all, but he wasn't quite as explosive.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would probably lean towards Kamara. I mean, they're both great. I have them both on a couple teams, but what Kamara brings to the table as both a kind of a running back and a wide receiver, kind of one of those players you're talking about earlier in terms of where they can offer value through multiple ways. I feel Kamara could still be producing 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting point. I was leaning towards Hunt a lot more, but now I was thinking about all the weapons that Kansas City has. He is a 3-down back, but he's right in that he might be have a longer career.
Yeah,
and Ingram's probably be gone next year is a guess.
It's entirely possible, and the like you guys alluded to it, the fact that Kareem Hunt is a 3-down back might work against him as far as who would you rather have for dynasty purposes. You probably want the guy that's taking less of a pounding, and that's Kamara.
Well, but you also want the guys getting 3-down with.
But I understand that. But if Kamara is catching all these passes and he's still performing at even a above average efficient level, wouldn't you rather have the longevity of that guy? Well, I think I would rather have the longevity.
I mean, he was super, his efficiency metrics were off.
Yeah. I'm assuming he is going to regress.
All right, so Leonard Fournette, last one.
I would probably I would keep probably Kamara and Hunt over Fournette. I mean, I love Fournette. He runs hard as anything, but, I'm scared of him getting injured. And he doesn't really offer as much in the passing game.
Well, plus, not to mention that, the Jaguars also, they let Allen Robinson go, and they signed Lee, and they signed Moncrief. So they're still pretty stupid down there, right? So let's just
and Niles Paul.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, they're not that bright. Anyway, so let's move on. So we think about, back to zero RB, we think about it in terms of redraft leagues, but it seems like players in Dynasty value wide receivers even more. Do you feel that's a mistake? It says here, why do you feel it's a mistake? So you must feel that way.
Yeah, so beyond the scarcity that I mentioned earlier, I think fantasy players have gotten a bit spoiled in terms of some of the early production from rookie wide receivers in recent years. I think we'll see that return to not necessarily being the norm. So it may take 2 or 3 years for some of these wide receivers to develop, whereas with an RB, you'll likely know what you have sooner or later and be able to kind of turn that around and monetize it if you so want. And then especially in leagues where you have to cut your roster down to 16 or cut it down to a tighter roster, do you really want to be holding developmental players year over year?
Yeah, and especially like we alluded to at the FFPC, where they are not deep rosters at the time of roster cutdown. You are really taking a leap of faith in your belief in a guy. If you're waiting for 1-2 years for the guy to develop, you're costing yourself chances at winning titles, which Doug Weidner did twice last year at the FFPC level. Let's talk about Stephon Diggs. You own him on both of those championship-winning leagues. Doug, if someone offered you Allen Robinson straight up for him right now, would you do that deal? Basically, who would you rather have in Dynasty right now? Is it Stephon Diggs or is it Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Diggs. I mean, I wouldn't go for A-Rob coming off injury, at the price of Diggs. I'm excited to see what Diggs can do in the offense with the real QB. And I fully expect Cousins to open up that offense, which, I think will be to the benefit of Diggs.
Diggs, I think, might be in Dynasty right now. He's the type of guy that I think people should actually be trying to see what they can get to acquire him, because you have Case Keenum is the guy who's throwing to him last year. So we all know what he was able to do with Keenum, and I think that's fresh in people's minds. But we also have what Keenum did with Thielen. And Adam Thielen has probably seen his highest Dynasty value ever, higher than anybody probably ever thought it would be. So the fact that if you can acquire Diggs right now, Diggs actually might take a big step forward this year if Thielen, again, regresses to the mean, as I like to say, Dave. Diggs could actually have a big 2018 season for sure. So I'm actually with you. I thought it was I looked at I think this was I on Dynasty League Football or Fantasy Pros or something. I was surprised that Diggs was ahead of Robinson significantly on that. I mean, I would rather have Diggs, but it's closer. And you look at how far they were apart. It was surprising. So clearly, the majority agrees with you with Diggs over Robinson. We've talked.
I'll take Robinson myself.
You would really?
Yeah,
Robinson.
I always like. I just like Allen Robinson's skill set a lot. I think he's one of those big dominant wide receiver number one type guys, and I think his value is deflated because of the injury.
And you're not.
And that's having dealt him to you even during the.
That is true. You're not concerned with him maybe having a slow 2018 coming first year off the ACL.
It's possible, but I mean it didn't sound like it was one of those really drastically terrible ones. It was super early in the season, of course, so I think that helps him. And he's a hardworking guy. I mean, I think he's a real professional.
Yeah, you've trained with him.
Yeah. You can just. I checked his Twitter. He's not he's not out there on Instagram. He's not kicking out 30-story windows.
Right.
Threatening to kill himself, and he's not naked.
He's not fighting for Jesus.
Yeah, I know that stuff.
Yeah, nothing like that. We have talked enough about veteran wide receivers, Dave. Let's talk to Doug about the future receivers in the NFL, the rookie receivers, specifically the big three at the top of most NFL draft boards right now.
Yeah, so talking, I wouldn't say these are the big three, but I'll let you say that.
Okay.
So Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and Cortland Sutton. Do you have a favorite out of those three right now? And DJ Moore's been moving up, so let's make it those four. So let's say DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Ridley, and Sutton. What do you think?
Yeah, so I was actually going to add more in there. So we're going to bust the trend here a little bit. I mean, I guess it sounds like Ridley's going to be the first wide receiver off the board in real draft. But I think I'm going to probably stay away at that price. I have concerns about his size, specifically his weight, and his athletic profile combination. I was pretty surprised about what Sutton did at the Combine in terms of his size and athleticism, and I really like Kirk as a player. So like I said, I'd probably bring in DJ Moore and James Washington here as well. Those guys are built more like running backs and certainly could bring a dynamic aspect to an NFL offense in terms of how they get the ball in their hands. But in a bubble, not knowing where these three guys go in the real draft, I'd probably lean Kirk. But I'll probably take the approach of focusing on RBs first, some stud RBs in this year's draft, and take a Moore or Washington at a discount compared to those other guys. I'm able to do so.
Well, Lucky, you said Matt Waldman from, the whatever you call it.
Rookie Scouting Portfolio,
Yes,
footballguys.com.
Yes. Great guy, great analyst. He said, what did you say that he had 6 running backs? I
honestly don't remember.
It was some insane amount of running backs that were like way, way, way up there. So this was a great year for you, Doug, as far as your types of guys. So he liked that first of all, and then
I think honestly, here's what I remember. I think if you combine this year's running back class and last year's running back class, I think he said he had 6 guys ahead of McCaffrey.
Wow,
it was something insane like that. Like I couldn't even believe.
But he was not super high on McCaffrey, to be clear. Right?
That's true.
He was okay. And then the other thing was Christian Kirk. When I saw him in the Combine doing the gauntlet, he was fantastic. I mean, his hands were great. He stayed completely straight on the line, and he ran fast through that, which is exactly what they want them to do in the drill. Kirk looked great in that, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing Sutton though, because I forgot.
I saw. Well, I didn't see him. I can't remember if I saw him in the gauntlet, but I saw him do the 40. And just the other thing too is what's interesting about the Combine is you're seeing these guys honestly for the first time. And they're basically not that I know I'm opening myself up to being ripped on here.
Well, you don't spend your entire Saturdays sitting around watching college football, nor do you spend all your nights in their parents' basement like some of these analysts watching games.
Or their own basement.
Right, I guess they might have their own.
But you're seeing these guys in the skin tight, top and then the spandex shorts. So you're seeing a pretty good look at these guys' bodies.
Right.
And then I know, I said I was opening myself up to it. I knew you were going. And then, but to see Sutton step up to the line.
Handsome? Good looking?
Dave, come on. So he steps up to the line, and not only did he look the part, but he ran the part. It was just wow, how.
Sweat was glistening
off
his body.
I can't even make a point anymore.
Go ahead.
So, but the point I'm trying to make is, this guy looked the part, he ran the part, and this is a guy that we were talking about even last year as being a high draft pick as far as Sutton goes. So I'm just I wasn't as high on Sutton as I was after I saw him at the Combine. I think a lot of people were. But he looked really good at the Combine. Kirk looked really good at the Combine, and DJ Moore. I think those are the 3 guys that really set themselves apart.
Sutton's 3-cone drill looked good at the Combine.
Yeah.
6'5", 7 at, what does he weigh, 218?
That's
a crazy number.
But I made the joke that, the 3-cone drill for a 6'5" guy, it's just basically 3.
Whatever, go ahead.
It's 3 steps for him. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. I'm sorry, by the way, Doug, we'll talk to you in a second. But, that's a good point. Except that why don't all the other 6'5" guys do it? Because they don't. A lot of them run a 7'4".
Right, yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
That's a great point. Okay, let's listen. Enough of us talking about our.
Let's run the interview much longer.
No, well, I want to get to some emails that came in specifically for Doug because our listeners knew this was going to happen. This is Roger in Beach Island, South Carolina. He writes, "Hey Doug, what week will Carson Wentz reassume his starting duties for the Eagles?" Congrats, man. That is Roger in Beach Island, South Carolina. Thanks for the email, Roger. This probably hits close to home, you being an Eagles fan, but what are your thoughts as far as, put it in a fantasy perspective? When does Wentz get back out there under center for the Eagles this season?
Yeah, I mean, for an Eagles fan, I'm certainly hoping it's week 1. And we're hearing a lot of the kind of sugar-coated stories coming out from the team that, he's optimistic about that and they're optimistic about that. So, as a biased Eagles fan, I'm going to have to go with that for now and just hope he's out there for week 1 and ready to roll.
But sometimes you got to listen to your heart. And hey, after what I saw the Eagles do this past year, even when I doubted them, they came through in the clutch. I have no doubt that Carson Wentz embodies that mentality, and maybe he is out there week 1. I certainly wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. Next email, Derek in Versailles, Kentucky. What's up, Doug?
Versailles, France?
No, but it is spelled the same way. Do you see Jay Ajayi's dynasty value at a high right now, is now the time to deal him. Thanks to the email, Derek in Versailles, Kentucky. I appreciate Jay Ajayi as much as the next guy, but if I owned him in Dynasty and he's the starting running back on a Super Bowl winning team, I might start shopping around, especially with his knee. Think about that knee condition too. I might start thinking about okay, let's see what I could get for him. Has his Dynasty value peaked, Doug? We know Clement's there. We know they could add somebody in the draft. I've heard Darius Geis mentioned with Philadelphia. What are your thoughts on flipping Ajayi at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not. I would certainly do it if I had the opportunity. I think he's a good running back, but I think the Eagles are taking an approach where, they've got a few good backs back there, and they'll probably look to add one more. They can certainly, carry the ball, and they'll look to spread it around. So he may have some real-life value, but in terms of fantasy production, it's going to be tough to kind of recoup that.
Pumphrey's there too, Dave. I forgot about him. Remember Donnell Pumphrey?
Yeah, the guy who started ahead of Rashad Penny, Penny on the bench. This hidden talent of 2,700 yards.
Did you know what I found out tonight, as an aside?
No.
Matt Breida and Jerick McKinnon are both teammates now for the 49ers.
Okay.
Both of them went to Georgia Southern.
Oh, really?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is actually weird.
How bizarre. Anyway.
But it's different, so he was
I don't think they were there at the same time, because McKinnon's been in the league for, 7 years now? 6 years?
7 years? No.
Well, I don't know, honestly. What is he, 33, 34?
No, that's how many bench press reps he had.
I always get bench press and age mixed up. Okay, perfect.
Don't bring on McKinnon. I don't own him anymore. I own him in all my Dynasty teams, and somehow I looked at it after I saw this happen.
What if the Niners draft somebody? What if they draft somebody?
Anyway, Doug, so let's talk here. Question, one of my favorite questions. Who's going to be a first-round rookie draft dynasty bust? A lot of adjectives there.
Yep.
And who's going to be going the second or third round of rookie draft that's going to have a great fantasy career? And we are taking notes.
All right. I think I'm going to piggyback off my earlier answer and take Ridley and his 7% spark score or whatever that was as my potential bust. The guy I see falling into the mid-second round in terms of rankings and early second in terms of ADP, which I'm actually kind of surprised about this, so I'll have to kind of recheck that. But I see Royce Freeman falling a little bit, which I certainly don't expect that to be the case, closer to the draft. But again, you got a guy there with, great size, great production in terms of rushing and receiving in college. And certainly the size to be a workhorse back. So if I can, obviously at that price is a bit of a steal.
And I'll say this about Royce Freeman, Dave. This is a guy that I've been not trumpeting as my guy or whatever, but I have said I liked him. This is a guy who plays in he played in the Oregon offense, which it's not really a good representation of a good NFL offense by and large. But
cool helmet, though.
This was a guy that not only did he excel in that offense, but a lot of people said this guy's going to be a better pro than he was a college player, and I think that's certainly possible. Royce Freeman, not enough people are talking about him. I think he's going to be very productive as a rookie, especially if he lands in the right situation. So that's.
I agree with you.
I agree on Freeman, and you know what? I agree on Ridley too. Dave, do you agree on Ridley? First round bust?
Yeah, I actually think that the Ridley's value is dropping really quickly. I feel like he'll be moving closer to the end of the first round dynasty drafts. If he wasn't in the top 20 picks, but I have a feeling he's going to drop in the NFL draft as well.
Yeah, and you know what? The NFL draft could dictate about, what if he's the third receiver off the board in the NFL draft?
As well it should, actually. Those are the people that do it professionally. Even though I rip on mostly the Dolphins and sometimes the Jaguars, a lot of these organizations know what they're doing.
Some of them do. I'll tell you who knows what he's doing. Doug Weidner won at the FFPC Dynasty Leagues at both the 750 and 500 level last year. You were batting 500 last year as far as titles go, winning 2 of them out of your 4 Dynasty teams there, Doug. So congratulations on that. Good luck on repeating this year. Good luck in all your leagues, man. This is fun talking to you tonight, and fly, Eagles, fly. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Doug Weidner, ladies and gentlemen, a high finance guy working in New York, living in Jersey, and cheering for Philly. Gotta love it. Great stuff.
He's obviously smart. He's not living in Manhattan like dummy Alex.
Not
wasting all of his money on rent and mortgages and so forth.
That's true. Dave, our longtime listener, Aces Rebels, in the chat tonight.
Oh, yeah. Right on.
Breaking some NFL news in there. Mike Wallace, now a Philadelphia Eagle, playing opposite Alshon Jeffrey, keeping Mac Hollins' Dynasty owners ticked off. And Terrell Pryor, maybe the new number 1 receiver for the New York Football Jets. That's interesting.
Pryor's, I'm
going to tell you why.
Pryor sucks.
I'm going to tell you why. Jets moved up to number 3, right, in the draft, trading with the Colts.
That's correct.
So they have the 3 pick. They obviously want to take a quarterback there. Rookie quarterbacks tend to find a safety blanket.
They're gonna take one of the Joshes.
Okay.
They're just joshing.
Do you know there's an anyone but Allen campaign going on in New York right now?
ABA?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't think they're taking Mayfield. I don't think they have the stones to do that.
No, probably not.
I think Mayfield was pulling that too.
Here's my point that I was going to say.
Yeah.
ASJ is no longer there, so you don't have the tight end security blanket. But what happens at Pryor is that target that this rookie quarterback locks onto. And maybe McCown starts and it's, for the majority of the season it's moved. But Pryor's an interesting guy to pay attention to. Maybe not for Dynasty, but for redraft for sure. I'm kind of interested in him. You could probably get him super late. Obviously, the signing is fresh, so he is actually going to move up draft boards. But he was going in the 19th round of FFPC best ball drafts. Got to go ahead and grab him there.
Well, I remember last year when I didn't like Pryor. I didn't draft him anywhere. And he was going in the 4th round. Everybody was talking him up like he was so great.
Yeah.
What happened?
He wasn't great.
I didn't pay much attention to him. So, he was terrible. What was it? Why was he so terrible?
I think you had the gelling with a new quarterback and a new offense that already had Jameson Crowder, that already had Jordan Reed, that already had some established
Reed was
guys
hurt.
there.
Crowder was hurt. Didn't play hardly at all. Doxson barely played.
And then he got hurt.
So, who's catching passes there? Ryan
Crowder did. Well, Ryan Grant.
But early in the season.
Crowder caught a lot of passes. I don't have my figures in front of me.
Yeah, it's not like I'm
Thompson was pretty big too. Right. Thompson was pretty big at the start of the season. Vernon Davis, remember when Jordan Reed was hurt, Vernon Davis performed very well. We're going to talk about him at the end of the show when we talk about how the tight ends finished. I
don't feel like he has a lot of excuses for being so poor, and he wasn't even playing later in the season.
And I believe he's, going on 29, 28? He's not a young man anymore.
He's older than you thought McKinnon was.
Yeah, exactly. But what were his bench press reps? That's the real question.
But they weren't that good.
Thanks to Football Guys, Real World, Rob, and Aces Rebels for tonight's rundown. Breaking our scoop reporter, Aces Rebels, giving us the Mike Wallace and Terrell Pryor. By the way, Mike Wallace, I don't care for fantasy about this.
I was actually shocked he's still playing.
Okay, so there you go. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports Marshawn Lynch took a $500,000 pay cut from the Raiders before a $1 million roster bonus was due this past Saturday. Lynch was previously guaranteed no money on his contract, but according to Pelissero, Lynch is basically guaranteed $4.5 million thanks to this restructure, and his contract has a base value of $5.5 million this year.
Well, I wonder if he negotiated that himself or if he had an agent do it.
Would you like to talk about this?
No, I know. I'm just saying Richard Sherman's an idiot, and that was smart because I'm sure his agent wisely handled this negotiation and earned him $5 million.
I don't like throwing people under the bus, and
Sherman's an idiot. Let's move on. Okay. He went to Stanford, yet he's somehow dumb.
But I will say this.
Go ahead.
I have never been a Richard Sherman fan, and I'm glad he's happy with his contract, and I think he deserves everything he gets.
I totally agree with you. He saved himself 1.5% or $90,000.
Yep.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yep. As long as he's happy with it, Dave.
Yeah, it's an 8-year-old Bentley he could buy with that money.
Reason I bring this Marshawn Lynch thing up is because there was some speculation that he might get released after they signed Doug Martin.
Which is why it was very smart of how they handled that.
Right.
Good job, I want you.
John Gruden, by the way. Where did I read this? Is this Roto World or something?
Listen to anything he says, it's like fingers on a chalkboard.
He said he wanted to take football back to 2003 or something like that, and that's basically what he's been doing with a lot of these moves. It was Roto World because they just signed Breno Giacomini, who has been Pro Football Focus graded him out as the 83rd best tackle out of 83 qualifying tackles last year. Raiders just signed him. They just signed the corpse of Doug Martin and Jordy Nelson, who, let's face it, is not exactly in his prime anymore. I'm interested, and then Marshawn Lynch
Although 2 weeks ago he was great.
Running the backfield. Man, I am nervous about this Raiders offense. I still think it's going to be good for Cooper because I think this offense he's going to be the only guy left standing. Everybody else is going to have broken backs and necks and, using canes and everything. I don't think Cooper will. But, man, the Lynch thing, I don't think you can really get anything for him in Dynasty right now. I have him in one Dynasty league. I have him in one redraft league. I think you can get him fairly cheap in that. I'm all right with him as like a number 4 running back
Sure.
in redraft and just plug him in there in the few weeks that you need him and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, he could be all right. Why not?
The season he had last year wasn't all that bad.
He could. I mean, I'm guessing he was some sort of an RB2 last year.
Yeah.
Some
sort of one.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's 13 to 24.
Right.
Let me just look. I can look.
Well, while you look that up, I'll tell you right now that if you are drafting in the FFPC, he has an ADP of the 10-10 right now.
I'm sorry, he was He was RB 25.
Yeah.
But that included a game in week 7 with a .9, and then he missed week 8.
Okay, so there you go.
So, although he only averaged like 11.3, and so it wasn't all that great. But again, it's a new coaching staff.
And I think you look at that, Dave. That's probably what you can expect for him this year.
But if you're in the 11th round, it's not. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on and talk about another one of Dave's favorite whipping boys, Eric Ebron.
Signed by one of my favorite teams, the Colts.
The Indianapolis Colts get him on a 2-year deal. He can earn up to $15 million over the course of the 2 years. This was after the Lions cut him before his $8 million salary became guaranteed for 2018. And this is bad news for Jack Doyle because he was really the only tight end there now. And whether you think Ebron's good or not, the Colts obviously do think he is something. So he will be out there, and maybe Jack Doyle and him cannibalizing a little bit. Frank Reich, the new head coach for the Colts, and Nick Sirianni, his offensive coordinator, came from the Eagles and the Chargers, respectively, where the Eagles used Trey Burton, Zach Ertz quite a bit, and in the San Diego/LA, they used Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates quite a bit. I don't know if this is very good for either Ebron or Doyle's value, but I'm not super excited about Jack Doyle all of a sudden.
Well, I agree. Andrew Luck tweeted about this. He said, "Dearest mother, welcomed news."
Was this Andrew Luck or Captain Andrew Luck?
Oh, whatever. The unit has a new soldier to help the men advance down the battlefield. Readying for this moment by training among lions, not amongst. I have no doubt Lieutenant Ebron will be a robust addition to our successful campaign, Andrew.
Did you read some of the Twitter responses to that? Some were like money, like saying like,
somebody please tell him he is alone in this opinion.
No, that was talking about like this Civil War Andrew Luck stuff ain't funny, and I'm not the only one who shares that opinion. That's what they're talking about.
Oh yeah. So okay, that's funny.
No,
except that Captain Andrew Luck has 192,000 followers.
It's obviously very funny.
Yeah.
No, if you scroll down there, talking about like how something like he has a tendency to drop his gun in the heat of battle and stuff like that. Like he just.
So the Lions unit of Fort Detroit are in jubilation, handing Lieutenant Ebron to the Colts. He would frequently leave the mess hall with cans of butter.
Yeah,
that's the opportunities on the field of battle.
Cans of butter. That's great. Okay, so let's bring this back to fantasy. Eric Ebron, Dave. I'm not drafting him this year. This is the 801 is where he was going. This is basically before the signing. You could get okay, let's play Would You Rather here of guys who are going after Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron or David Njoku?
Njoku.
I would agree. Eric Ebron or George Kittle?
Kittle, for sure.
I agree.
Kittle, way for sure.
All right, now
I'm actually excited about Kittle.
I am too. We're going to talk about him in a little bit too. Eric Ebron. Now this is the tough one. You just might bow out of this.
Mercedes Lewis?
No, Eric Ebron or Tyler Eifert?
I'll take Eifert.
I think I would too, despite all the soft tissue injuries. Eric Ebron or Jason Witten?
Oh, Witten. I'm comfy with Witten.
No question. Eric Ebron or Austin Seferian-Jenkins?
ASJ.
I agree. Eric Ebron or Austin Hooper?
Ugh. Woof. Give me a Hooper.
I would too, but I could honestly go the other way. Eric Ebron or Trey Burton?
I think Burton's way overhyped.
That's
he hasn't
fine.
produced enough in the NFL.
Okay.
But the thing is, the uncertainty of Burton is better than the certainty of Ebron, so I'll take Burton.
4 rounds of value on Trey Burton too, in comparison to Ebron. Eric Ebron or Jared Cook? We'll leave it at that.
I'll take Ebron. Cook is terrible.
I will take Jared Cook. Okay.
Enjoy.
I don't know if I'm.
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. Cook is like the worst.
Down between these two guys. He fits in with that whole super old Raiders team. NFL media's Lance Zierlein has heard from one team, or he says he's heard from one team, from more than one team, that Ronald Jones, running back from USC, has been dismissive during interactions with NFL teams, according to Lance Zierlein on Twitter. Quote, caught both teams way off guard. Jones did not complete his workout at the Combine. You remember he hurt his hammy in the 40-yard dash. They have a pro day in USC for USC coming up in early April. He's going to run the 40 there. At least he's planning to there. And you look at what this means. This is not good, Dave. Any of the stuff that's happened to Ronald Jones since the NFL draft talk picked up. You had this report from Lance Zierlein. You have the hurting his hammy at the Combine. I was on Ronald Jones before, and I liked him better than Darius Geis, actually. I'm not sure if I do anymore, and I think he's sliding a little bit.
Well, I think he has been sliding because it's weird because he doesn't finish the 40. So then no one really has any numbers to base him off of, and other people have done well, so he just kind of naturally moves down a little bit. I'm going to hold off judgment until I really see what he does in the 40 and where he gets drafted a little bit. I'm not really that sure. By the way, to be in this roto blurb, it says, to be clear, we aren't sure what dismissive means. So I'm not sure where they went to college or high school, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it's not that hard of a word to define.
Yeah, I would just assume
he's kind of an ass.
Yeah, like he was short and curt. Maybe in his responses.
Maybe he's pissed off that he hurt his hamstring.
Could be. I don't know what's going on with them, but it's not great, not good.
I'm sure as a USC student, he knows what dismissive means. Ronald Jones, by the way. That's a good school.
Yeah, it's great for film. NC State defensive end Bradley Chubb had a private workout with the Giants and expected to have an official visit with them within the next few weeks. Now, this is interesting, Dave, because this morning, I think it was this morning, Jason Pierre-Paul and a fourth-round pick was sent to Tampa in exchange for a third-round pick and a fourth-round pick.
And to be clear, fireworks are not legal in Florida. However, you can buy them on the way there. In Tennessee, they're completely legal.
Okay. So that aside, thank you for that, by the way.
Yep.
So that aside, this is interesting for the NFL draft. Do you believe the Browns take a quarterback with the number 1 pick?
Actually, I do now. I now do.
Okay, I believe they do too. The number 2 pick is owned by the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this would suggest to me that they are not going to be taking Barkley, that they are not going to be taking a quarterback, that they could be taking Bradley Chubb here to fill this defensive end position that is now open from JPP. Chubb, who is a much better fit for the 3-4 than JPP was, this makes all the sense in the world that Chubb would go at number 2. Now, I need you to agree with me just for the sake of this argument.
Oh, that makes a good point.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty good point.
Okay. The number 3 pick was the Colts. Yeah. Now it's the Jets. They weren't trading up for Barkley, I can't imagine.
Correct. They're trading up for a quarterback. One of the Joshes.
Yes, maybe, yeah, because they said they don't have the stones to take Mayfield. Then who's sitting at 4?
But the
Browns.
Who can take Barkley at their convenience, at their leisure.
Who could take Barkley there, Dave, but they already have Duke Johnson and they already have Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
What are we to make of this? Because now it seems like Barkley's actually likely to be, much more likely to be a Brown than he was 24 hours ago.
Well, I don't really know the total details of the contracts, but I assume that Duke Johnson and Hyde's contracts aren't insane, like that they can't get out of.
3 years, $15 million for Hyde. I don't know what Duke's is, but I'm sure he might even still be on his rookie deal.
Well, here's the deal: they're NFL contracts, so unless it was some special one, they can do whatever they want because the players get screwed.
Yeah.
So for sure, of course.
Right.
So they could take Barkley, or really, with that team, as much as they have needs, if they're comfortable with those 2 running backs, they could trade down. Just, when you have a 1 pick and a 4 pick, just keep trading out little by little.
But they already have so many picks this draft.
They have, there's 50 players on, 49 players on the roster, 45 active on game day. You need a ton of talent. Any of those picks in the top 90.
Yeah.
From what a lot of the studies that people, a lot of studies that are out there say that the more picks you have, the better. And then a lot of times it's just like shooting, shotguns.
Yeah.
You're shooting a shotgun, just take as many shots as you can. I think that's not a bad move.
No, that's true.
From the 4th pick, you can get a ton. There's other teams that need a quarterback, and they've already got their 1.
Or maybe somebody's willing to move up to grab Barkley.
Because if Chubb goes 2, right?
Right.
Then that leaves one of the other Joshes, and then or Mayfield or whoever. So
Lamar Jackson.
Or to move up to take Barkley.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely. There's so many different ways that this could go down.
That's a very, very, very valuable pick at 4.
Yeah. And it just became more valuable after this Jason Pierre-Paul trade.
If this happens, yeah.
Well, but again, we're talking about that this makes that scenario much more likely to happen than it did prior to the trade.
The Giants they need a lot.
They do need a lot. speaking of teams that need a lot, let's go down to Miami. The Dolphins found a new running back today, and maybe new is not the right modifier to describe this guy because he is, I believe, 54 years old. Frank Gore, 1-year deal to sign with the Dolphins. This is another decision that I don't understand what Miami is doing. I know that
the explanation here is good.
They've publicly said they want to change the culture inside the locker room. They've gotten rid of Jay Ajayi. They've gotten rid of Jarvis Landry. Gore actually played for the U back in the day, and he wanted to finish his career down in Miami. He has averaged below 4 yards a carry his last 3 years. He is not catching passes anymore. This is good news for Kenyon Drake, Dave, if they stand pat on this. I don't believe they will. I still think they add another running back probably on day 2 of the NFL draft.
I can see that, day 2 or day 3 even.
Damian Williams, by the way, is now a Kansas City Chief, so they do not have him back there anymore. So there is a spot open.
I think that they'll take a shot. I don't think they're going to use a premium pick on a back, but even if they wait till day 2 or day 3, sometimes those back, like a Royce Freeman or whatever, he could get picked there. And
Rashad Penny.
Yeah, any of those guys, and they're true competition to Kenyon Drake. Yep. Drake's not, he's not the biggest guy. Although, watching Drake play, he looks great. I mean, to me, he looked like a really solid running back.
Bo Scarborough and just make him Alabama East down there in the backfield.
This is, I'm happy for Gore. This is kind of a cool thing for him, though.
Yeah.
It's like, finish your career down, the weather is nice, your knees won't hurt or anything like that. No state income tax, have a good time. Out. It's like Ballers. He's living the real life version of Ballers for you.
Can you imagine, the discussion?
What he did with The Rock?
Yeah. The discussion that went on in the Miami front office, hey, what about Gore? Well, man, we're not making any good decisions. Sure, bring him on in. I was listening to Adam Schefter's podcast, and he was talking with fellow. Yeah.
It's very good.
It's all right. It's not like a really fantasy podcast, so it's not part of my regular.
He gets awesome guests, so I'm sure it doesn't hurt.
Field Yates was the guest on this episode, ESPN NFL Insider Field Yates, and they were talking about Miami and the decisions that they were making. Now, Field Yates came from a scouting background, used to be a scout for the Patriots. And when he made his transition from scouting to being a part of, sports journalism, he said that he knew from being a scout that you don't really, on the surface, if you're not privy to the information the organization has, or if you don't know what's going on within the organization, you would see a move like moves like the Dolphins are making. You're like, what are they doing? This makes no sense. Whereas you could be within that organization, know everything that's going on, and then these moves make complete and perfect sense. Like, it's obvious that they should do something like that. So I don't want to speak out of turn and say I know what's better for the Dolphins. I mean, they and Schefter said this too. Schefter said, when he's talked to people down there, he's like, these are decisions, the decisions they're making and the football moves they're making, they have full conviction in them, full belief that they are doing the right things to get this team back into contention for a playoff spot and then eventually competing for championships. So they're wholehearted, full on into this.
Yeah, they should believe in what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't get it, and quite frankly, there probably will not be very many Dolphins on my fantasy rosters this year, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. You don't have to, you're preaching to the big-time choir here.
Right. You're a big-time choir now.
Big-time choir. By the way, Field Yates, it's almost like a porn star name for a football guy. Like,
you know what his
my first name is Field. That sounds fake.
Do you know what his middle name is?
Yard.
Minister.
But that was weird. That's bizarre.
Kenyon Drake going.
Parents must be hippies.
Kenyon Drake going at the 402 right now in FFPC drafts. Too early, too late, just right.
That's pricey for me, just because I think there's too much uncertainty with what happened.
Even after Gore today.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I think so.
I'm agreeing with you.
Where's Alex Collins going?
By the way, the earliest that Terry Cohen had been drafted was the 509.
Okay.
You had brought that up during our Weidner interview.
You're right.
Alex Collins, 706 currently right now, one spot behind Nick Chubb. And actually, a half round ahead of Jerick McKinnon.
That's obviously a lot of data that's old now.
That's true. That's a great point. We need Darren Armani to
spruce this up, Armani.
Give us a time frame on that. I think he will.
Give us the Emporio Armani, not the Armani Exchange version.
That's hilarious. Okay, let's get into fantasy feedback, and we'll talk about how the tight ends finished this past year. We kind of teased it throughout the broadcast tonight about how some of these guys surprised us, how some of them didn't surprise us, and, surprised us both in a positive way and a negative way. You have the sheet in front of you there, Dave. I know you probably don't see it yet, but it's there, right there.
Thank you, Eric. I see it now. Thank you.
Excellent. So we can, there's just a few talking points. If you see something, say something, obviously. But the first one I want to talk about is the tight end number 4 last year, and that's Evan Engram. Now, he is being drafted as a tight end 4 this year. Okay, that makes perfect sense. At the 404. Is that a good spot in a tight end premium league where you would be looking at getting an elite tight end? Is that the type of, would you be okay taking Engram there, given most rookie tight ends struggled in their first year, and that seemingly was not an issue for him?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. I mean, because he's got upside from his rookie season, he has upside. Now, granted, there was the Beckham injury and Marshall injury and all that stuff. But, he's definitely showed talent. They're going to use him. They're going to keep throwing to him. I don't see a really low floor for him. I think you see a high ceiling. I mean, why couldn't he be as good as Kelsey or Gronk? I mean, granted, there's not a high percentage chance of that, but I think there's a shot.
There's a shot. Is he your number 4 tight end behind Kelsey, Gronk, and Ertz? Because that's how FFPC players have him right now.
Yeah, I would have to say so. Especially with Burton leaving, you got to leave Ertz up there.
And would you like him? You still like him better than Greg Olsen?
Yeah.
And do you still like him better than Jimmy Graham?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Graham, I'm not. We're going to talk about Graham. You want to talk about him?
Do you want to talk about him?
Well, I mean,
you know what? He's the next guy on the list, so we can. Go ahead.
I mean, the Packers, and we've talked about this time and again, the Packers just do not use their tight ends all that efficiently.
Right.
I am cautiously optimistic about Graham and them giving him more targets, but you still have to deal with the history. I mean, is he going to get more than 100 targets, 110? I don't know. I mean, I'd like to hope that they're smart enough to do it, but maybe they're not.
Maybe they're not.
McCarthy doesn't look that smart.
Now, I'll say this. Who was the guy they were throwing to in the red zone last year? Adams certainly had a lot of targets, but who made his living? Who was the only reason he was any kind of fantasy relevant for the Packers last year because of his touchdowns?
Who?
Jordy Nelson. This is a guy that...
Anyway.
Well, I mean, he had whatever it was, like 6 touchdowns by the time Rodgers got hurt.
Okay, so you're talking about that one part of the season then? Or?
Well, I'm making a point that that's what Nelson did when he was out there. And Nelson's now gone. So now who are you looking at? Are you just going to pump all those? You can't throw a Cobb down there.
Why not? Cobb gets a lot of red zone targets and red zone touchdowns. Even though he doesn't look like he should, he does get a lot.
Yeah.
And traditionally, right?
I guess my point is like Jimmy Graham he's
a much better red zone
He's an
target.
Overpowering force down when you get inside the 10, inside the 5.
Yeah.
And I feel like Graham, maybe he doesn't get 100 targets this year,
right.
But he might be the type of guy that maybe you can count on the touchdown output a little bit more than you could for a lot of other guys.
That's a good point, and especially when you have the uncertainty at running back. I think that's something. The one, the Packers quarterback that would have gotten a dozen touchdowns for Graham is Favre. Favre always was trying to pad his touchdown stats. He always audible. He'd have a run play call. He'd be like, 1280. You throw it to a tight end for a 1-yard touchdown. You do it all the time.
Back in the day when they had Keith Jackson, Mark Chmura.
Yeah, you would just you toss all those little dumpers off. That's how you end up with 40+ touchdowns every year.
I am still of the public stance, Dave, that I am not bullish on Jimmy Graham this year. I probably will not be drafting him in a whole lot of spots. I believe that the way that the Packers structured this deal, it is fairly easy to get out after year 1. And I don't know if that's a blowback from the Martellus Bennett thing, that they didn't want to be caught in that situation again, but I think that there's a chance that he could just not be with the team anymore after 2018. And if he's not with the team anymore in 2018, it means that his 2018 season was not very good. And
well, I would actually be higher on Graham. I think if he was somewhere else. But I don't think he's washed up. I think he's still doing well. I think he actually put up decent numbers last year, and the year before he was a tight end 3. So I think he still has something in the tank.
Now I will say this: when you get, obviously, you and I would rather have Engram, Kelsey, Gronk, and Ertz ahead of him. I personally would rather have Olsen than Jimmy Graham. I don't know how you fall on that.
Who is it again?
Olsen or Graham this year?
I'll take Olsen, yeah.
Okay.
He's more likely to get a bunch of targets.
Okay. But then after that, Dave,
even with McCaffrey getting a lot.
Look at the other guys going around Jimmy Graham. Hunter Henry, Delaney Walker, Kyle Rudolph, Jack Doyle.
I'm looking at the traditional stats here. I'm not looking at...
Okay, that's fine. I'm just telling you where they're
so
going.
Who's going there?
you're right in that same cluster. Hunter Henry, Delaney Walker, Kyle Rudolph, Jack Doyle, Jordan Reed. It seems weird to say it, but a 31-year-old tight end might have more upside than any of those guys there.
Well, yeah, Jack Doyle not interested in.
Right. Kyle Rudolph getting from Cousins now?
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind Rudolph.
Okay.
Rudolph's pretty solid. Although he's never been a 12-target-a-game type
right.
guy.
And they still have Thielen and Diggs.
Yeah, and Graham can get that, so every once in a while.
Plus, don't you think Dalvin Cook is going to take some opportunities? He'll get some opportunities inside the red zone, too,
sure.
that Kyle Rudolph made his living on the last couple of years.
Sure.
Hunter Henry or Jimmy Graham, you'd rather have Graham?
I would, but I'm kind of optimistic with Henry.
I think I'd rather have Graham than Henry, too, and Graham or Delaney Walker.
I'll take Walker for some reason.
Okay, you know what's interesting is we just agreed on all this yet, but I am not bullish on Jimmy Graham, and you are, and we both have him behind the same 5 guys, which is
well,
so bizarre.
That's okay. I mean, I do think he has upside from that spot. That's why I'm not that interested in. Why I am interested in looking at him.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't think he has upside from that spot. Maybe you think that's maybe what he's going to do, and he could do a lot worse.
Aces Rebels wants to know in the chat this year, over or under 11 touchdowns for Jimmy Graham.
I think you got to go under that because that type of number you'd never see a number in Vegas because it's way too high because you have the injury risk.
Yeah.
I think the number would be like 8 is where they probably would set it at. It'd probably be 50-50 when he does. And Aces Rebels lives in Vegas, so he should know he should know this prop stuff.
I'm taking under 11. I would also take under 8 as well.
Oh really?
Yeah.
For $5?
Well, yeah, but I mean, how strongly do you feel if you're saying it's a 50-50 shot at 8?
Good enough. Let's go.
All right, fine.
I got $5.
I got Jimmy Graham under 8 touchdowns this year. 8 is a push.
8's a push.
All right, I got 5
Aces Rebels. Thanks for finally generating a bet out of these two punks.
The old curmudgeons on the show. Okay. Speaking of old curmudgeons, number 9 tight end last year, Dave.
Super rock star.
Holy hell!
Hall of Famer.
It's Jason Witten. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. This is from 2008. He was the number 9 tight end. And 2018. I don't know.
And probably 3 years in between.
He was probably top 5 in 2008. But my God, Dave, the number 9 tight end last year is in an offense with the same guys, maybe Des Bryant taking a step back. Cowboys just signed some receiver today. I can't remember who it was. Oh, Deontay, what's the guy's name? Deontay Williams or whatever his name was from Deontay Benjamin from the Bills.
Oh, whatever.
But anyway, he's going in the 10th round as tight end 17 right now. Insane value.
I don't know. And here's why.
Okay.
I just looked at his numbers from last year.
Right.
And it makes me want to puke actually a little bit.
Right.
His first 2 weeks, he had an 18.9. This is not FFPC, it's just PPR. 18.9 and a 25.7. And then he had a 1.3, a 1.9. And then he had a 14, a bye week of 15. Then a 6, a 1.5, a 12.9, 1.7, 11.4, 7.8, 9, 8.7, 8.9. So, like 5-6 weeks, he didn't break 9 points. And then like 4 different weeks, he had like 1 catch for 3 yards. That just was like so crappy. I just don't. I feel like I got to get more upside than that.
Okay, let's talk about this from a best ball standpoint.
That's fine. From that, yeah, great.
Let's say you want to wait on tight ends in best ball in the FFPC. Here's what you could do. You could grab Jason Witten in the end of the 10th, and then early 11th you could take Austin Sperry-Jenkins. Okay, and then you could wait. And in the 12th you could get a guy like Cameron Brate, Charles Clay, Adam Shaheen, all those guys going in the 12th, and boom, there's your 3 tight ends.
Sure, that's great.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
You could add somebody late, Vernon Davis or Ricky Seals-Jones, somebody like that, or one of the rookie tight ends if you wanted to do that. So maybe you don't want to play the stream with tight ends and try to guess which weeks Witten is going to have it, but man, in best ball right now to wait in the 10th round to get last year's number 9 tight end.
Gross.
We mentioned ASJ. He was the number 19 tight end last year. He is being drafted as tight end 18 this year at the end of the 10th round, early 11th round. ASJ, what do you make of him in Jacksonville this year, given that there is no Allen Robinson, given that there is no Allen Hurns, and top 3 receivers are Marquise Lee, Keelan Cole, and Dede Westbrook, thank you. 3 slight guys that probably aren't great red zone guys. And then the backup tight end is Niles Paul, who was He's been a blocker, blocking tight end the majority of his career.
I love ASJ.
ASJ could be a force this year, and he's still going in the double-digit rounds.
I think that's a great value. Fantastic.
Okay.
You have total upside all over the place.
And you believe that he will finish higher than the number 19 tight end?
Yeah, I think he has I think he has about a 50-50 shot to finish top 10, maybe even higher. By the way, can I give you a quick little point?
Hold on. Aces Rebels in the chat. Okay, let's say Jimmy Graham is, he's playing 16 games. Then where do you set the total at?
I'd say 8.
Still 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't even go up higher.
Maybe, okay, 9.
Okay. That's just up to
that's
9.
a lot of touchdowns, though.
Okay, fine. Go ahead, make your point.
All right, so Cortland Sutton had that 6'5", 7'3" cone.
Yes.
Is a tall fella.
Yeah.
6'3", by the way, 6'3", 218.
Mm-hmm.
There were two other players that had better, the agility score, which was popularized by RotoViz. It's a really tough formula. You take the 3-cone and you add it to the other stupid drill.
Okay.
The
short shuttle?
Short shuttle, yeah. So he had a 6'5" and a 4.11 for a total of 10.68. There were two other wide receivers that were as tall in the neighborhood, 6'1" or higher, that beat that number.
In NFL history?
In the combine this year.
Oh, this year?
This year's combine, yes.
Okay, DJ Moore?
DJ Moore is not tall enough to do that. He is only 6 feet 210, and he had a 6'9", and a 407, so he did not have the numbers needed.
Fine.
But you're really, 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 really close.
DJ Chark?
No, okay. Look the other direction.
Herman Moore? I don't know.
Jamon Moore from Missouri.
Oh, Jamon Moore from Missouri. Okay, and then here's the other guy I was going to guess. Equanimous St. Brown?
No, that punk. He's a total punk, by the way.
Why is he a punk?
Because he didn't run the 3-cone at the combine. And you know what? He has pro day today. And during the show, I looked it up. He didn't run it today either.
What's he hiding? What are you hiding, Equanimous?
Yeah, other than a long name. The other guy.
Yeah.
Can I give you a hint?
Yes.
He's a lighter skinned fella.
Dylan Cantrell.
Yeah, Dylan Cantrell.
Texas Tech.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Wasn't very productive, but oh boy, did he blow up the combo.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dave, would you call Dylan Cantrell sneaky fast?
Yeah.
Would you say that he has a high football IQ?
Yeah.
Would you say he is a polished route runner?
Hey, speaking about, should we talk about the other white wide receiver we were talking about the other day? Watson from Penn, right?
Yeah. This is the guy that you mentioned.
Yeah, let me find his stuff.
I was thinking about that the SMU, because we talked about the SMU receiver too. The sort of slot guy, the shorter guy. He didn't have a great combine. I can't remember what his name is now. But that's the extent of the white wide receiver.
Trey Quinn? No, that's other SMU. Trey Quinn? That doesn't sound like
No. That was the guy who actually looked really good.
He did, okay.
I can't believe I'm going to Google this. SMU white receiver and see what comes up.
Even the racially ambiguous part of the show where we're making stupid comments?
Yeah.
Black people, they realize.
You know what? It might be Trey Quinn.
Really?
It might be. Hold on. Yeah, it's Trey Quinn. He's white, 6 foot 200.
Cool.
From Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Yeah, good for him. All right. So Justin Watson. So Trey Quinn, did he have a good combine? You said
22. No, he didn't have a great combine, but
okay.
He was all right.
Justin Watson from Penn. He got dissed at the combine.
By who?
By all.
Who's he got beef with?
Well, whoever they didn't invite him.
Okay.
R.C. Fisher, by the way, he posted some of this information.
R.C. Fisher, collegefootballmetrics.com, former guest of the show.
So he mentioned that Justin Watson from Penn did well at the East-West game, which then got him an invite to the Senior Bowl, and he said he looks fantastic that he saw. 4'4", 240, 40-inch vertical, 20 bench press reps, 124-inch broad jump. And he's like, they didn't just list his size. I mean, he's like 6'2", 220. I mean, he's like a big dude.
Rocked up.
Yeah. And I watched the route running because they showed all this stuff. He looks great. You know who he looks like? He kind of looks like Jake in 16 Candles. He's got that the handsome.
Jake Ryan.
Yeah, Jake Ryan, although he's taller and bigger.
We have a projected round for this guy. Is he a UDF guy?
Well,
UDFA or 6th, 7th round?
Fisher was saying that he thought he was an undrafted free agent, but now he's going to get drafted because of how well he did his pro day.
Is he this year's Moritz Ballringer? Remember that guy?
Maybe he's this year's Cooper Kupp.
Oh, now we're on to something.
I mean, Cooper Kupp. Everybody was talking about he's going to go in the 4th, 5th round. So he goes in the 3rd round.
Yeah. And
he's this old guy. He's old. Blah, blah, blah. They had a great year. He played better than Mr. Sammy Watkins, who just got himself however many millions of dollars.
I will say this: Sammy Watkins what he doesn't do as well as Cooper Kupp, does not have as high of a football IQ, is not as polished a route runner, and is not as sneaky fast.
Sounds like something you'd say on Fox News.
Yeah, no comment. Last thing I want to bring up, 49ers tight end. He finished number 23 last year, and he's being drafted as the 15th tight end off the board in the early 9th round this year in the 902, George Kittle. Tell the listeners a little bit about why, as our good friend KFFSC Commissioner Farrell Elliott would say, why do you want to be in business with George Kittle in 2018?
He came on kind of late. I just feel like the team likes him, and they have Jimmy Garoppolo. You have a good quarterback.
Right.
Throwing to him, I think that's. I mean, what else do you want?
They have added Jerick McKinnon. They have added Weston Richburg. They have
kept Marquise Goodwin.
Kept Marquise Goodwin. They have Pierre Garçon coming off the head injury. I think it was a head or something. Whatever they put him on IR for. Are they done with their offense? Are they just going to address defense, in the first 2 days of the draft, or do you see them using a day 1 or day 2 pick on a receiver that could, quote unquote, gum up the works for George Kittle?
I think they should. I think they will, because you paid all this money to Garoppolo. I think it'd be a mistake to not try and surround him with as many weapons as you possibly can.
Are we talking
like the Browns are doing? The Browns are doing that. They're like, we're giving you as many weapons as you can. The Chiefs are doing that with Mahomes. I think that's fantastic. And it's like, if you don't do well and you have all those players, I mean, then it's you.
Yeah. All right. I'm on board with that. I don't have a good way to wrap up the show other than to say,
what a great show.
We're done, and what a great show indeed.
Bye-bye now.
I want to thank Doug Weidner, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, all of you. Now, I have the question to ask you. Are you off next week? Are you on next week, March 30th? Next Friday?
I am unfortunately not going to be able to make it.
You are off. That's what I thought. So I have, will have a co-host lined up that will do the show with me next March 30th. So we'll be back. We will not do a show next Thursday. We'll be back at our regular scheduled time, 10/9 Central on Friday night. Register for the main event, Best Ball and Dynasty League now at myffpc.com. And hey, get in on that Football Guys early bird. Register before June 30th. Draft your team before July 15th. You're going to get a free FFPC $35 week. Do it 3 times. Your early weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dog stay on the porch, blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from?
You know what's great about this Jimmy Graham thing now that I think about it? If I win, awesome, I win. But if I lose, Packers should be doing good.
Oh, great.
Right?
What are these Homer analysis stuff? I hate this stuff.
No, it's Homer hedging.
Yeah, it's Homer hedging.
It's not. Homer hedging. I think I found a new. Team
I
name.
have the Bears receiver going against you, but hopefully he does bad, and then my team wins.
All right. I don't think I've ever sounded
really
like
that way.
Thank you.
That's how other people talk.
See you next week.